What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Revival. My name is JJ, and it's time for part 2 of my Dragon Quest main series rankings. Let's go. Alright, coming in at number 5 on my list is Dragon Quest IV, Chapters of the Chosen. I will say this is probably the best in concept. Yeah, I think this, as far as gameplay goes, story, another one I think probably has a better concept. But as far as gameplay goes and storytelling, I think this is probably like the best idea for it. I think just because it was such an old game, and this was obviously I played it on the DS, so it was kind of a remake of the older one. I would love to see them do this kind of a style where you are playing through the different characters before they all meet up as a party, and playing through individual storylines first, and then having them meet up. I thought that was such a cool idea, and I love that in games. Like, you're talking like Suikoden 3 with the Trinity Sight system, Wild Arms on PS1. I love that idea of just being able to play different scenarios, and then, you know, having everybody meet up and come together while having shared this world but experiencing their own stories prior to that. I think that's just such a cool idea. And unfortunately, like I said, it just, once I got done with it, I kind of like, it didn't really stick with me as far as like the story elements and the characters and everything like that. Again, not that it was bad, for me personally, it wasn't as memorable as what I would have liked it to be, but I love the idea so much and the concept, and I had a good time with it. I remember that, that I had to put it higher up on the list because of that alone. And it was such a, a massive leap forward from Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 at the time. So, great game. Definitely recommend these. Unfortunately, these DS versions are stupid expensive at this point too, so, I mean, I'm not sure what the original games go for, but they're probably, some of them might be cheaper at this point. It's just crazy to me. These are, if you can get your hands on them, these are wonderful, wonderful remakes to dive into. So, yeah. Coming in at number 4, we have Dragon Quest VII, Fragments of the Forgotten Past. So, kind of like I mentioned with 6, I really liked it. I liked the idea behind it. But again, this also just got to a point where it dragged on for a little bit longer, like it overstayed its welcome a little bit, where I got to a point where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And I played this on the 3DS. For what I understand, the PS1 version is like, like twice as long just because there's so much text to go through. I guess they streamlined it a bunch on here, so yeah, I'm thankful that I played this version, because man, that would have been crazy. And honestly, it's a lot higher up because it took me so long to get to that point to where I felt like it was overstaying its welcome. Like, I was 60, 70 hours in and I was still having a blast. I still loved it. I thought it was great. In this game, you're basically like finding fragments of your world, and you're going back in time, and you're like, think of it like a puzzle piece. You find a puzzle piece, then you put it in this slot in this giant temple, and then you can actually travel to that place in the real world because that continent or island or whatever has now shown up in the world. You go there and you do some like story elements and that kind of stuff. And then you go find more in the past, and then you come back, and you're going back and forth between time and restoring your world. And it's so cool. And I loved doing that because every single time you went back in time, grabbed a new piece, brought it forward, the areas were so different, and just like they had their own storylines, and every place was just so cool and memorable. Quite frankly, I don't know. Obviously, there was like 40 of them, so I don't remember every single one to the T. But I definitely remember a handful of them, and had a really good time with it. I yeah, this was a great game. And honestly, like whenever I've looked at other lists, this is probably higher on mine than it is on most lists that I've seen, quite frankly. And I was a little surprised by that because I really, really enjoyed it. And I think the main reason it does get knocked down a few points for other people is because of that length. And because of just, there's so much text to go through and so much dialogue. Which, depending on who you are, that could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. But I think when you're getting, 90 to 100 hours deep in a game, that does kind of wear on you a little bit for most people. It definitely did for me at that point. But like I said, it took me a long time to get there because I liked it so much prior to that. So yeah, Dragon Quest VII, great game. All right, we're at our top 3 now. Number 3, Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. Like I said, this was after having played I said this in my previous video, but after having played the original, like trying to get into the first one when I was a kid on the NES, I didn't even dive into any other Dragon Quest games until the PS2 era and Dragon Quest VIII. And I played it and I really liked it, but I also was really, really I thought it was just brutally hard. I was like, this is so hard to get through. I am dying so often. I don't understand the weapon skills and leveling up my characters and where to put points and all this stuff, and I really just didn't understand it. Now, having played through the series game by game and learning everything and seeing what they kept from prior games as they moved forward because certain things worked, I dove into this head first and I loved it and it was fantastic. No, it wasn't hard at all. I just needed to grind a little more. And back then I didn't really grind when it came to newer games. When I was grinding in games, it was older stuff. PlayStation 1, Super Nintendo, that kind of thing, because I could just sit there mindlessly and do that. This one, combat's a little bit slower, and so I really didn't want to grind as much. Now that I had it on my 3DS, and this probably has a lot to do with it, it was a lot easier to grind because I could just throw on, a TV show or something and just sit there with my 3DS on the couch, getting levels and money and whatnot. And I remember that being an issue too back then when I played it on PS2 was money. But this was the story in this one is just so great. I mean, it's again, very few of these games have a mind-blowing story. A lot of them, it's about the storytelling and the character personalities and that kind of thing. And that's what this game is for sure. The cast in general of 4 characters that you get each one is just so fun, and I still, the hero, Yangus, Jessica, and Angelo, I still remember all of them. I love this game so much. It's so good, and honestly, this is one of those where I would easily say if you were wanting to jump into this series, this would be one of the ones I would recommend for sure, because it's just that good. Again, 3DS version, I'm not sure what this one goes for. This one might be a little bit easier to find than some of the other ones, but man, those 4, 5, and 6, good lord, those are stupid expensive at this point, and it sucks. But great game nonetheless, and if you can get the PS2 version, get it. It's great. I love it. This also, PS2 era, that was when people were starting to say turn-based combat is dead and world maps are a thing in the past and blah, blah, blah. And this, I was just right here, man. It just depends on how you implement that. So, great game. Definitely recommend it for new players. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Number 3, Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. Coming in at number 2, Dragon Quest V, Hand of the Heavenly Bride. So I mentioned when I talked about 4 that the concept of getting to play through the characters and everything like that, the storytelling in that was a really, really cool way to do it, and that I was kind of thinking there is another game that I think the story itself is a little bit more complex and it does something that I've never seen before, and that's this one. I think this is probably one of the coolest things I've seen in a video game when it comes to story in general anyways. You're not the hero. You're not the one that destined to defeat the great evil. That's what the game's about. Your world is in peril and you gotta stop the big bad guy. but you are not the chosen one. You are tasked with... So basically your father originally has the equipment for the chosen one. And he's like, I've been searching my entire life to find him so I can give him this equipment. When he has it, we'll know because it'll react to him and whatnot and everything. And I've just been, wandering the world my entire life. And so eventually you join him on his quest and some stuff happens and he eventually, it's early on in the game so it's not really a spoiler, but he gets killed and he's like, I'm passing the mantle on to you, you have to do it. And it kind of sets it up to where you're like, oh man, he's going to, hand me the sword and shield and I'm the chosen one. And it's going to tell me right there, oh my gosh, it was with you all along. Hands it to you, nothing happens. It's like, oh, I guess you're not. Go find him. And so you're spending the game literally trying to find the chosen one and find the hero. And eventually you do. I won't get into the specifics of how that all plays out, but it's also very, very cool. And there are some choices involved that affect the outcome of how the game plays out, too. Really, really cool stuff for something that came out such a long time ago. Man, this is probably my favorite story in the entire series. And it's just so great. This one, I would love to tell you that this is a great entry into the series, and not entry, but I mean like entry level into the series. Like this could be a first game for somebody. I would recommend against doing that though, because I think the storytelling in this is so good that you might be disappointed if you go to other ones afterwards, unless you really love the gameplay and that's why you stick around, because it's it's standard Dragon Quest gameplay. But man, the story is just so good in this, and I thought that was such a cool concept. And I love this game so much. There's monster capturing and tons of adventuring, and you have again choices that you make that I won't get into, and they put additional choices in this game apparently. Just keep in mind the name of the game is Hand of the Heavenly Bride. But this is such a good one. It's really, really good, and hence why it's my number 2 in the entire series. All the way up to the last one that came out, which, if you saw my review, you know what's coming, and well, I guess if you've been watching this, you know what's coming, because it's the only game I haven't mentioned yet. So, number 1. That's right, it's Dragon Quest XI. I don't need to go into depth on this, because I have a whole review up on the channel. Go check it out. I had a lot of fun making it, and I had even more fun playing this, because... damn, going through the entire series and landing on this as a culmination of everything else, I will be straight with you. As a Final Fantasy, fanboy, diehard fanboy, I would kill for a moment like that, where I play one of the newer entries and I'm like, this is where it's all led, and now it's like, I've got a tear in my eye because there's a little part of each game in this right now. Final Fantasy series doesn't do that anymore. Unfortunately, they kind of just want each game to have their own identity, and that's fine. That's that series. This is this one. I'm just saying, for a while they were doing that, and then they kind of just stopped. So it is, but that's another video for another time. But this game, man, it is a culmination of everything the Dragon Quest series did right throughout from the beginning, and that's one of the big reasons I'm so happy. I mentioned this already, but that I'm so happy that I played it from the beginning and played them in order. Seeing that growth and that change, and the games evolve over time. Don't get me wrong, I don't recommend everybody doing that, because you really have to be okay with playing retro games now, and there's not a lot of people. There's a lot of people who aren't able to easily get that mindset and put themselves back into, in front of a CRT in the late 80s. Playing one of these games with a 2-button controller kind of thing, you know what I mean? So I totally get it if you don't want to play it that way, and I am not telling anybody they need to, but I'm just saying I personally am so glad that I did, because it helped me appreciate this so much more. Not to mention the area you can go to where it has all the references literally to the other games, and the ending, which I did not see coming, which is kind of cool, which I won't spoil, obviously, but the ending, and I'm talking about the true ending, which, if you know, you know, man, this game was just spectacular. Absolutely fantastic. This is the one I would say, dive in. if you have never played a Dragon Quest game, even if you're not a role-playing game fan, even if you're not a Dragon Quest fan, even if you're not, like, you know, turn-based combat, all blah, 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 all that stuff, this has something for everybody. It's so good. It's so good, you guys. For real. Like, it really is. Watch any review on it, you'll find just people gushing left and right. And you know, it sucks I waited so long to play it, but at the same time, I'm really glad that the reason I waited so long was because I wanted to finish the other games in this series first. So, yeah, man, shout out to everybody who's played through all the games and appreciates them and loves them as much as I do. And you know, I want to hear everybody's thoughts on these games because it's just such a wonderful series that really has kept its soul from day one, which isn't very common nowadays with long-standing series. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Did I get something wrong? Should I have put something higher up? Should I put something farther down below? Well, let me know what's going on. Tell me what's on your mind. I appreciate it. Also, you can join the Discord. You want to talk in there. You want to go a little more in-depth, stuff like that. I, again, take a little bit longer to respond because I'm not on there super often, but I will respond. I promise you that, whether it's in Discord or on here or on Twitter. Shoot me a message anywhere. I don't care. I will get back to you. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I really appreciate you being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. And as always, keep on gaming.